Alright, welcome back. So we're going to get started with part 2 of chapter 2. The next tag that we're going to add to our HTML document is going to be the body tag. And as I had mentioned in the previous video, whatever you type inside of the head tag section is non-visible. It's really there for the browser to understand what it needs to do and what it needs to display on the actual tabs for the actual browser for what the title is for the page. What happens after that is going to be the body tag. So we're going to open up our body, and with all tags that you open, for the most part, as I mentioned before, you're going to have to close it, and I don't want to forget about that. So I'm going to take this opportunity to close out of my body tag and close out of the HTML tag. Once again, the HTML tag, you might say, where did that come from? And it's right here where I've highlighted. Now you'll see that whenever you close a tag that starts with an attribute in the opening tag, you do not repeat that attribute in the closing tag. Alright, so inside the body, let's talk about some key things. So the heading elements. So you'll see over here in the PowerPoint slide, we've got a heading level of 1 that is big and bold, and a heading level of 6 that's much smaller but also bold. So heading elements are considered to being semantically correct, or semantic tags, if used correctly, I should say. So the idea here is that we might put a heading level 1 on the top of your web page as your title. And then any repetitious use of heading level 2, which is where you would have like a subheading, or heading level 3, maybe you've got some, again, sub-level headings. We would consistently use these particular heading levels throughout your website, so that way the cascading style sheet can be styled with the exact same style, and users would see a consistency throughout your web pages. What we don't want to do is use heading levels just because they're bold or because they come with a particular size. You want to make sure that you're applying a heading level to a document with purpose. Alright, so let's see what these look like. So we're going to start off with an opening bracket, and you'll see that the HTML tags are all lowercase. So I'm going to say H1, and then I'll say this is my first level 1 heading. Okay, and then I'll close off the H1 tag. Alright, so that's kind of fun. So let's repeat this a few times. We'll do H2. This is my first level 2 heading. Oops. Spell checker, level 2 heading. And then again, to close a tag, it's always a / and then H2. So we're going to repeat it. So I'm going to take this opportunity to get crafty and paste, 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 paste. Alright, so let's fix this up for sake of time. So this is going to be a heading 3, this will be a heading 4, this will be a heading 5, and this will be a heading 6. This will be a heading 3, heading 4, 5, heading 6. And as we go on from high to low, it's going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. Alright, so you might wonder what this actually looks like. So let's take this opportunity to save our default file. So I'm going to press Control S to save, or Command S on a Mac. My file has since been saved. The next thing is to get it to display actually in this browser. So that's what we're going to do right now. So I'm going to open up my, it's called a Finder on a Mac, but open up your documents viewer on your device and locate where you saved your file. Okay. So if you are seeing that I have a Chrome icon right here, and so that Chrome icon that we have, I want it to display in Chrome. If by chance your computer is defaulted to using Edge or to Internet Explorer, I encourage you to try to use Chrome. It's more consistent, and it's based off of what we're trying to achieve here. So if that is the case, you're going to right click on there and choose Open With, and then you'll see that those other tools are listed here, so you're going to want to choose Google Chrome. Okay. Alright, and so then there we go. There's our file, and so you can see right here, let me close out of my class. Let's get rid of this, and you'll see this title will show up a little bit better right here. So this is my first web page. That's the information that we place inside of our title tag, and then you can see that down here it says my first level heading all the way down to my 6th level heading. So that's what we're seeing right there. So that's pretty exciting. You're able to see your HTML code in action. All right, moving on. The paragraph element. The paragraph element is like the above H1 through H6 tags, the heading level tags. The paragraph element is also a block level element. Block level elements basically state that whatever you put on that tag, that's all that's going to go on the tag for that particular line of code. So as you can see in our output where it says this is my first level 2, if I were to leave this or put these right next to each other, you and I might think, well, that means it's going to go right next to each other. But contraire, I'm going to save this and refresh, and you'll see that there's no changes here. So because these are block level tags, the spacing and the order of it is really irrelevant. It's all about the actual tag and its DTD, that document type definition. So again, paragraphs are going to be block level display. They will configure a space above it and a space below it. All right, so let's go back to our code and let's create ourselves our first paragraph. So P. So this is my first paragraph. Well, I miss being on campus. I am really hopeful that you are enjoying this class lecture. Okay, and for sake of speed, I'm going to take you over to another really neat little website called www.lipsum.com. Okay, lipsum.com. It stands for lorem ipsum, which is a Latin gibberish of content that you can choose in any language you would like. That being said, the idea here is that it gives us words that are 1 letter, 2 letter, 5, 6, 7 letters in appropriate spacing, so it kind of gives you a more realistic feel of what it would look like. So I'm going to take this opportunity to copy some of this content. So I'm going to highlight it and then do Control C, and then where it says lecture, I'm going to do Control V and paste it. And what you don't see at the very end is a closing paragraph tag, so I'm going to press the Enter key on here and make sure that you can see I'm going to put a closing paragraph tag here. Okay, if I were to go to text, I should be able to do word wrap. Again, your word wrap is going to be one of your menu items at the top of Notepad++. Kind of look for it. Word wrap is in there. Let's specify this at 45 characters wrap. Alright, so there we go. So this is what it looks like for me at this point, is that I've got 45 characters. Let me actually increase that. My apologies. Change the hard wrap. This is just a different tool than what you're typically going to use, so it's going to do that. Alright, so that's not what I wanted to do at all, actually. Let me just put this back to the way it was. Alright, so nonetheless, you can see that this paragraph is all the way down over here. And let's see what it looks like on our page. So I'm going to write once again on my tool. I'm going to press Control S or Command S. I'll come back to my web page. Press your refresh button. If you are on a PC, you can press your F5 key. That also will refresh, otherwise the recycle is right there. So this is what the page is looking like with my 6 different heading levels and then my paragraph. You can see that there is a space between the last level as well as the paragraph. If I were to create myself yet another paragraph, I'm going to copy what I just pasted in there and paste it again. You can see I'm putting extra spaces between here so I can visually see what I've started or ended or not started. I'll save this and refresh once again, and now I've got 2 paragraphs, and again you'll see the spacing in there. Now a couple of things that I didn't mention that I'm going to go back and fix up really quick right here is I really would like you to get into the habit of indenting. Indenting basically shows that you see that these tags are part of the body tag, and we want to press the tab key to move these on over so that way you know that when they are inside of there that are all part of the body tag. So let's do this, and I'm actually going to delete that extra paragraph that was just for sake of example. I'll press save and refresh. So visually nothing has changed over here, but visually inside of our text editor we can see that all of this content that's a part of the body tag has all been indented. So it's really obvious when the body is open and closed. On the left hand side over here you can also see that I can collapse a whole section of content. In Notepad++, there will be the same thing with a plus and a minus sign that will allow you to see or collapse full sections. This again is just a really great way to ensure that your body tag was opened and closed as expected. All right. Moving on, the line break event or element. So the line break is going to be an inline element, okay, so it's not a block level. You can stick it anywhere you would like inside of your paragraph or inside your text, and it forces the information to go to the next line. All right, so let's see what this looks like. So I'm going to go to my text editor, and where it says heading level 4, and again, all heading levels are going to be block level elements, but let's just say I want to put level 4 on the next line. So I'm going to go inside of here, open up my tag with that opening bracket, do a BR, and then close it. Now I don't need to press the enter key, though I understand what this means. That's what we're going for. We don't need to do that. So I'm going to just leave it all on the same line just to keep my page nice and short. I'll save this file and then refresh. And then you'll see now that this is my first level 4 heading. And so it forces that content to go to the next line. Likewise, if I stuck a BR inside of here, I'll save this, once again refresh, and it's going to force that information to go to the next line. All right. Though these are block level and this is inline level content, it doesn't force an extra space above it or below it because you're sticking inside of it a line break, which is like pressing the Shift Enter key on your computer in Microsoft Word. Okay, so I've undone the one in the paragraph, but I'll leave this one right just the way we have it there. All right, the next thing is going to be a block quote. Block quotes are great if you need to do indentation of large paragraphs of content. All right, so again with purpose, this is a semantic tag. What does semantics mean once again? It means that you're doing something because it has a reason for being indented, not because you want to move it over a half of an inch, and that's the easiest way of doing it. Aesthetics falls in the hands of cascading style sheets, which we'll learn about in the next chapter. So right now, the only reason why we're going to use a block quote is because we are quoting somebody, and as you know, when you quote somebody with greater than 5 literary lines of content, that often is displayed inside of a block quote. So once again, I'm going to copy the content of this paragraph just because it's already there and done. Okay, so Control C, come back, and I'm going to press the Enter key and do a block quote and press V to paste it. Oops, I must have accidentally copied the extra P. So block quote. Alright, so once again when I display this, you're going to see that this next paragraph is going to be pushed over about a half of an inch. Alright, refresh. And that's what it looks like. But again, don't do this because you want to push it over, do it because semantically. So let's talk about semantics with screen readers. Screen readers are a tool that have changed the opportunity for people with visual, audible, and physical disabilities that can't navigate websites with ease to be able to listen or to have it read to them or for it to kind of go through the website in a different manner. So when it comes to things like a block quote or the emphasis of text or strong text versus italicized or bold or just an indented paragraph, the screen reader is able to identify that there's a purpose that this content is being pushed over, and so it reads it with different emphasis rather than a monotone reading of the initial paragraph. So again, use block quote wisely for purpose. Alright, so we're going to go down here to where we're talking about different types of phrase elements. That's what I was just mentioning about the bold, the emphasis, the I, the mark, the strong. Alright, so bold, as you know, is going to be a simple bolding of text. However, if you see down here where I have the word strong, strong is, again, the exact same visual appeal or effect that we're getting from bold. A visual person can see that it also is bold, but some screen readers are able to identify that something's been given strong emphasis, and so it's read just a little bit differently. So let's try this out. So I'm going to take this word while inside the paragraph right here, and let's wrap it in a B key. While I miss being on campus, we'll make that nice and bold. Okay, and then let's go down a little bit here where lorem starts. Let's make this one strong. Again, this can go anywhere inside of here. Let's end it right here. So we'll end the strong and save this. So I'm going to go back and refresh. So while I miss being on campus is bold, the lorem ipsum is simply dummy text. This is strong. They look identical, but again, the screen reader has an understanding of strong. So if you're trying to emphasize something and you're trying to really get it across, not just to have a visual contrast, but with purpose, you'll want to use the strong tag. If you're not trying to say it's with purpose, it's just a visual separation, then feel free to use the bold tag. And the same goes through for I is italicized, so I will say let's make this one italicized. And visually, if that's all we're trying to do is italicize, then so be it. If you're trying to draw emphasis to, so that way the screen reader can read it a little differently and the person that's listening to your website knows that there's something really important about that, then they will, the screen reader will read it differently. So here we are, while I must be on campus, and then this is the italicized / emphasis version of it. A couple other, oh, I jumped ahead, sorry. Clicked the wrong spot. A couple other really neat things that you can do is something called the mark. The mark is going to be a highlight. So if I want to, again, visually identify a highlighted piece of text, so I can go in here and do a mark. Oops, mark. And then we'll close off our mark right here. Always open and close the text, or your tags, I mean. So you can see that that's now the highlight for it. Then we also have something called sub and sup. So you can see here that if you're doing physics, chemistry, or math, algebra, etc., formulas, we've got a sup to have it below and sup to bring it up top. Okay? So those are neat things to be aware of. All right, so we're talking about nesting at this point. So whenever you open a tag, you have to close it, but it has to be in the proper nesting. So let me take you back to this other side right here. And I'm going to give this one more try to see if I can get it to word wrap for me without messing up the whole display. Display, show, wrap, soft text. Perfect. All right, so hopefully this is a little bit better. So when it comes to nesting, let's talk about this. So we've got a paragraph that I've opened. We've opened this up with a B. Now, if by chance I forget to close this B tag, okay, what's going to happen is, let me save this. This whole thing is going to be bold, and then it's going to go right into the strong, and it's not going to end until the end of it. So what you're seeing over here on the right-hand side, check it out when I refresh it. It's now all bold because there's a missing tag. It doesn't know when to stop the bold, so the bold never stops. Yeah, it got strong in the lorem ipsum, and then that ended, right here is where it ended, but that bold was never closed, so it continues on and on and on. So you want to make sure that you always close it in the right pecking order. Furthermore, let's say, for example, in your scenario, I'm trying to visually emphasize, yes, I do miss being on campus. I'm hopeful that you are enjoying this. Now this has emphasis to a person, yes, visually as well as audibly. If we need to draw emphasis to that, we can leave the bold open, leave the strong, open up the strong, close the strong, and then I can close the bold after that. That also is perfectly acceptable. And you'll see that that whole section will be bold to the visual person, but again, in a screen reader, it'll read this lorem ipsum section with a little bit more emphasis. So hopefully that makes sense. You'll see in this actual slide right here where we say that the paragraph opens, then it's italicized, call for a free quote, then it gets strong, so now it's italicized and strong, and then the italicized is closed. Well, we need to, yeah, and then we close the paragraph right there. So that's how it will be displayed. All right, I'm going to take another brief break. Hopefully this video is helpful to you. We'll start right back up with HTML lists.